Fuck off, man. I'm a scientist.
Welcome to Simply Champagne. I'm your host, Cornelieus Anthony Jr. And thank you for guys for being a part and allowing me to be your guide through the region of Champagne. Simply Champagne is strictly a podcast talking about the beautiful region of Champagne as far as history, producers, influencers, educators. But more importantly, the first season, we're going to dive into state domestic and talk about some of the best champagne bars in the United States. We're going to go to places all around the United States, from Chicago to Houston, New Orleans, Sacramento, other places as well. But we're going to start off in probably the best place, the nation's capital. I have right here with me Mr. Brent Kroll from Maxwell Park. And with Maxwell Park, their champagne bar is known as Fizz. Just a little background about Mr. Brent. Mr. Brent was named 2008 Food and Wine Sommelier of the Year. He has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the Washingtonian, the Washington Post, Wine and Spirits, Wine Enthusiast, Wine Spectator, and more. He was named as Rising Star by Star Chefs in 2014. He has held every position from sommelier to beverage director to general manager, also proprietor and sommelier currently. And he has managed in cities such as Detroit, Miami, and D.C. And I also heard that he loves the rapper Cameron. Also heard that as well, particularly the song Hey Ma. We're going to get into that also. I got to hear the story behind his love for Cameron and Hey Ma, who I'm a big fan of also. So, Mr. Brent, welcome to Simply Champagne.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's great to be here. It's no affiliation, although it's been mistaken. My son is actually named Cameron, too.
Oh, okay.
But
okay,
it's fully spelled out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Congrats. Yes, I have three boys myself, and all C names: Cornelius, Carter, and Christian. So, gotta keep the C's rolling. You have to keep the C's rolling. Yeah. But getting it started, just tell me a little bit about your wine journey and your love and what inspired you to open up a champagne bar.
So my wine journey was as a college business student, and I felt like I was working in restaurants and bars, waiting tables, just trying to, have like side money just for like going out and having fun. But I started really getting into the wine books when I was going to college. So I ended up reading as much about wine as I was about business. And then I dropped out and started studying, and I got certified through the quartermaster sommelier pretty young, when I was about 22. And I decided at some point, I probably always had the itch, but probably in my mid-20s, I was like, I really want to do a wine bar, with the approach to people like you would do in a nice restaurant when you go to their table and you just say hey, what are you into? What do you like to drink? But take it in a very casual approach. So I feel like I'm still trying to be a concierge to guests, just like I was in higher dining, but in just a really casual spot. I like to call us concierges at a house party is some of the terminology I always use. So a lot of times people in wine, they want to work their way into suits or positions where, you're considered illustrious and you have to wear a suit every day. I wore suits for almost my whole career, being a sommelier, and now I feel like I worked my way out of the suit on purpose. So I've got a giant bottle list here for what we are. We're a 50-seat restaurant with an over 500 bottle list. We do different monthly themes for all of our wine. We do temperature control in our wines, and we just try to make it fun for all audiences. So Maxwell's named after my childhood park in Detroit, where I'm from. Once that was open for a while, I decided if I was ever going to do anything, it was going to be a bubbles bar, but not just champagne. We're heavy in champagne. I mean, you could definitely call us a champagne bar, but we labeled ourselves a fizz bar because we have sparkling kombuchas, non-alcoholic drinks, ciders, beers, chocolates for effervescent stuff. It's just all carbonated alcohol. So it's just kind of blowing up that whole category, not just focusing on champagne.
I like that. Definitely, I'm definitely one of on the fizz side as well. I'm a huge champagne person, but I am a very much big supporter of French Quarter, Prosecco's, Cavas. Even some of the cocktails, the Aperol Spritz, things of that nature. So I totally understand what you mean. I'm also a Midwest kid, born and raised in St. Louis, and I lived in Ann Arbor. I graduated from high school from Ann Arbor, and I got my undergraduate degree at Eastern Michigan. So,
Oh, Ipsy, I love it.
yes, yeah, try and tell somebody when they spell it and see it, try and tell them to pronounce it. You should give them a free drink if they get it right. I guarantee they'll get it wrong. I promise you they'll say it wrong all the time. Moving on. Can you tell us a little bit about your unique features and the ambiance of Pop Fizz?
Yes. So the unique features, I would say, is that we construct a lot of sparkling cocktails, and we have all different types of sparkling wines. So if you come in and you want to try sparkling reds, pet knots, we even have sparkling like blue wines and stuff that are one that's made from an endangered blueberry from Maine,
Nice.
all the way to like grower champagne. It basically means if you want to come in and do we do a Negroni Lambagliato instead of Prosecco, like a Spagliato, we put Lambrusco in it. So we're constantly thinking about ways to incorporate sparkling into drinks and then have all different stuff over the plate or all over the place, like all different types of product. But I would say what makes it unique is it's a lot of pop culture references. So we're really leaning into like in terms of the vibe with like the music and how we do our social media. It's a lot of pop focus. So all the drinks pop and then pop culture as well.
So that kind of leads into my next point when I say that with on your website you talk about there's something for everyone. You guys focus on fun, not pretension. Can you expound a little bit on that for me?
Yeah, what that means is like we have like half bottles of champagne that are over $100. We have glasses of wine on happy hour that are like $6. We offer wines in flights so people can try like multiple half glasses of like bubbles and stuff. And then if someone if they say that like I don't like wine or I don't like beer, I don't like cider or something, there's typically like something for everybody because we're trying to cast a wide net opposed to just going for fancy, although we do list all of our disgorgement dates on our champagne. So we take the champagne aspect very seriously. But even if someone comes in and they're like, I don't feel like drinking, we have like non-alcoholic sparkling wine from Joseph Lights. We have a non-alcoholic sparkling Negroni called like a phony Negroni. That's really like what I mean. Like if you come in with someone and they're not in the mood for, whatever they think we are, we typically have something else.
Good. I like to hear that. So how do you guys curate? How do you curate your list? How did you come up with your list, and what factors do you take into play when curating your champagne list or your bottle list for Pop Fizz?
So for me, I definitely want to have like a pet knot element to it as like a category. I definitely want to have champagne method, but not champagne. And then I want to have like real like champagne too, especially focusing on farmer grower and less of like the big brands, just to be a little unique. So within those categories, I try to cover like, okay, here's a pet knot, but it's non-disgorged, so it's cloudy. Here's a pet knot, but it's disgorged. Here's a champagne that has Pinot Meunier in it, so it's crazy on the red fruit. Here's the champagne that has, it's Chardonnay based, so it's more leesy and sourdough based or whatever. We just try to have stuff that are big differentiators. I think we've definitely focused on sparkling reds too. I have like a champagne method sparkling Syrah from Treveri out of Washington. I have a sparkling dry Lambrusco for our pizza, which everyone tends to think that's like Lambrusco sweet in garbage, but the dry stuff can be really, really good.
Riuniti killed that. They
yeah. It's the silver lining of Riuniti is that it made people think Lambrusco is so shitty it's going to be cheap like almost indefinitely. I feel like until that damage is done. So it keeps the price down because people don't respect it as much.
I agree totally. I agree totally.
But Ed Hardy has a Lambrusco, and there's Lambruscos made like all over the U.S. and like New York and stuff, and it's just like a really tough category. We do a week dedicated to it. Every single year we pour 10 dry ones. We do a walk around pet knot fest where we pour 25 pet knots. Nice. And we do like a champagne New Year's promotion with like caviar and pizza and stuff too. So it's like a lot of fun stuff, and we're constantly programming. The last event we did was this thing called Chalk Fest, where it was a walk around tasting festival, and it was all Spanish chocolates and ciders. So if people follow us or they keep an eye on what we're doing, like we're constantly doing different things.
I'm a huge chocolate fan. I like to call it that's the ultimate poolside patio pounder wine. Definitely the rosés. I love chocolate. Chocolate is an amazing wine. Being a Midwest kid, as both of us are, I always love the different styles of pizzas, whether it's Chicago style, St. Louis style, or Detroit style. For those who don't know, what is a Detroit style pizza?
So it's to understand it, you should understand the pan first. So it's like a deep dish pan that's kind of like a square like this and probably like yay thick. And they used to throw kind of like bolts and like, lug nuts and like screws and stuff in there in like, automotive places, like back in the day, how the Detroit pizza started.
Okay.
Then they started curing and making doughs in there. So once they started curing and making doughs in there, it became this deep dish pizza, and they would take brick cheese, which kind of reminds me almost of like string cheese. It's like thick and dense, and they would actually put it around like the outside of the rim of the pizza, and then that's how you would get kind of that Detroit style. So you cook it in that with the brick cheese, and then you put the sauce on, like warm sauce on top at the end. So it started from Detroit being the Motor City and what these pans were to like auto workers, and then now it's just in Detroit. It's just pizza, But
Nice,
love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So talk to me about these spirited pops. Have you got the DC market up to say pop instead of soda now? Or are they still calling it soda?
You get what I'm doing there. I'm trying to do that.
I understand, man. I totally understand.
Yeah. It's DC is definitely a place that says soda, but with pop, I feel like I'm definitely trying to get people to do it. We call it pop when we sell people, like Coca-Cola and stuff like that too, or with like our drinks and stuff when we use pop. So maybe a little bit of that'll rub off.
Hopefully. So do you guys is it like a nice variety of spirited pops that you guys do, or is it just what you guys call like your cocktails at the moment?
Our cocktails it's interesting. We try to do stuff across the board. So like everything pops. So we can't just do an espresso martini. So we do like an espresso tonic with like a rosemary tequila. Oh, nice. Peaches are in season. So we'll make like a peach shrub and then make that into like a sparkling rift on like an Aperol spritz. We have this drink on right now with like coconut, Sprite, and Mountain Dew called like the Baja Blast, like the old school throwback. Okay. I talked about the Lambagliato. We do a twist on a champagne cocktail with like ginger. So it's a lot of twists on classics or nostalgic throwbacks.
Nice. So I see you guys also have a wine club. How does that work for you guys? And what would you say to a customer is the benefit of being a part of the Pop Fizz Wine Club?
Oh yeah, so it's great. If you join the wine club, you can either decide I want champagne or I want champagne alternatives that taste similar to champagne, or I want pet knots. And then you get 2 bottles every single month for $60, and you could just try throughout the year all different champagnes, pet knots, or champagne alternatives. And they have a delivery option too. Then I basically pick the wines, write about a page of notes on the wines, and then you would get the information in the bottles every month.
Nice. I like that. Is it limited strictly to DC residents, or is it available nationwide, or are there certain limited states that you guys can ship to?
We work with a company called Table 22. Okay. They're working on getting it nationwide, but right now it's just the DC area.
Nice.
I wish it were more nationwide, though. I think it's just more legal stuff in crossing states. It's just not there yet.
Absolutely. So how do you keep up with the trends and the ever-evolving taste in the champagne industry to make sure that you guys are staying current with what's hot on the market, or where you see is potentially the way the champagne and sparkling wine in general is moving towards?
Yeah, I mean, I think the trend was probably around five years plus ago was like pet knots were starting to get really hot and discovered. Mm-hmm. I think right now it's sparkling reds. What I do to try to stick up, I mean, champagne's got so much history and there's so many good producers and so many of it's already known. I feel like I just try to do different examples of champagne, but less than 25% of champagne is made by actual growers or farmers. It doesn't mean that all the growers and farmers are good. It doesn't mean that the houses are evil. But I think if you're trying to do a champagne bar and you want to focus on more individuals who are doing smaller scale product, I think it's really cool to focus on farmer grower, and we typically have a lot of those.
Nice. I always tell people that I want to get your opinion on this also. I really believe that Meunier is really the grape for the American palate. It's youthfulness, it's roundness. It's like you said, big red fruit that you get, the sweetness you get on the palate from it. When I tell sweetness, I'm like, it's not a sweet wine, but it does have a natural sweetness to it on the palate. I really believe that Meunier is actually the grape for the American champagne palate.
Some of the best champagnes possible are Pinot Meunier. They used to call it Champagne's dirty little secret when it was the most grown grape there. And
Absolutely.
It has more expression, like it has more intensity of like flavor and aromatics than Pinot Noir or Chardonnay. It's more like it just kind of like slaps a little harder, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Where like the Chardonnay stuff is very structured and tightly wound, and typically is a little more like subtle.
Right. Yeah. I totally.
Meuniers are those are trending too in like the actual champagne world. Like outside of growers, people are actually coming in and asking for Pinot Meuniers. Like we've definitely got our share of that. So I would say that's definitely something that we always try to have and that we keep our eye on.
Yes, I know it. At my job, we sell a lot of Francis Urban, a lot of Musset. Musset is like the Meunier god. Love. I hate him changing to a negotiant, so he's no longer more a part of the special club. But try and get it while you can, guys, because he is no longer a part of the special club. He's no longer considered I guess you say a farmer grower now. He's a big boy. He's with the big boys now. So yeah. I hate to see him leave, but they do have some really cool people that have come in who's doing some really good stuff as well. One thing is that we went through COVID. How did COVID affect you guys, and how did you guys manage to stay through it? Because I know a lot of champagne bars who didn't make it through it. So how did you guys maintain business during the COVID cycle?
COVID was pretty terrible. We did a lot of online classes. We did a lot of like wine to go. If you didn't, I think about how you were going to do business outside of people like coming into the bar or restaurant during COVID, good luck, or hopefully you made it through. But we were I probably did over 100 classes. We did like a 600 person like wine class, like all virtual for this legal group called like Venable. We were doing we're putting up like Venmos for like our staff, and we were just like doing these weekly classes and stuff too. So it was pretty intense. Company like staff wise, we went from like 24 people down to like 2 people, and now we're back up to like I think we're at like 30 now. So we're like sales wise and staff wise, like we're back, but we lost like everyone, and it wasn't people like leaving us to go work in another like wine bar or sparkling bar. It was people just moving out of DC or leaving the industry. So we had to. It's kind of like starting almost from scratch, and then building up your like new team. And now I have a bunch of team members that are like over a year. Some of them are over 2 years now. But it was just like I remember during COVID, there was a time where anyone applied, it really didn't matter what their experience was. Yes. I just needed bodies, needed to train. And I think we hired more aggressively with more like high risk, high reward hires. And I think it's paid off a lot for like the people where it's like clicked with. So I think there's like no better hire than someone that like you can invest time and resources and energy and like love into and watch them kind of grow. So we ended up with a lot of that, but it was definitely very rocky like through COVID.
Totally, yeah. I remember going through those times, and yes, we was doing pretty much the same exact thing. A lot of online classes, a lot of curbside pickup, for orders and things like that. So I totally understand where you're coming from. Being a niche wine bar in the DC area, how's the city been receptive to Pop Fizz and what you guys are bringing to the market?
It's great. I mean, we get a lot of industry. I think people really dig it. We've done already several industry events this year. And I think that when we do sometimes like events for like the public, we see like industry like buy tickets and come through. Like when we did that Chalk Fest that I mentioned, the Chocolate Festival, I would say like a quarter of our people who bought tickets like also worked in bars or restaurants. So there's a couple of things that I would say I like pride myself on in terms of like our clientele. First off, like we're definitely very neighborhood focused. So we try to remember people's names, get to know them. After neighborhood, we're definitely very industry focused. So trying to just like be a cool spot for industry to go after work, staying open a little later, like definitely being cool with like, you know, the late push when people come in after like a long shift and stuff like that. And then I would say too, the clientele at my bars is very like female dominant. And I think that might be DC is slightly female dominant, it's like a city, but I appreciate that like the ladies get out here and like support, and like we have I think at least a 50% female staff too, but our clientele is probably like 75% female, which isn't something we market for or necessarily try to be like, hey ladies night, or like come in here, but I think it's cool that we're a comfortable space for women and for industry and for the neighborhood.
Nice. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. What is your unicorn champagne? Like mine is the 1959 Dom Rosé. That is, if I ever could find it, if somebody ever had one, I would definitely try it. What is yours?
That's a good one. So mine's more like sentimental purposes. One of the first people to ever mentor me in wine is this one of I think 3 master sommeliers currently in Michigan. But she was the first female to get it. Her name was Madeleine Treffant.
Yes.
Yeah. So I worked with her for years, and I worked with this guy, Mick Descamps, who's like, and Michelle DeHaze under her and stuff like that. But they had a whole wine team. And when I told them I was leaving the company after like 4 years to try to be a sommelier, and I wasn't certified yet. I had no experience as a sommelier, but I said I need to I'm going to leave here, get a job from Michael Mina, like move to Miami. They gifted me a bottle that's no longer made anymore, and it's a phenomenal vintage. So 1996 Jacquesson Rosé.
Yes.
I waited a few years after they gave it to me, but I drank it, and that was just one of those like time stood still bottles that like maybe it was like a little bit in my psyche, but it felt like it was just kind of like evaporating in my mouth, and just the flavor on it was amazing. It was extra brut, but it was still like ripe and fruity, and I just, you know, felt like $1 million being able to have a glass of that, and really was humbled like who it came from.
Nice. Have you had any celebrity guests come to your location? If so, what champagnes did they drink, or what did they gravitate to?
It's a lot of like political celebrities. So like in the company, we've had a lot of like senators and Congress people. There was one time that we almost had a big celebrity where we had Jennifer Lawrence. She booked a table with us. We don't even normally book tables, but her people reached out to us to book a table. And this was like before COVID, but we drew straws as a staff as to who could get this table and who could get to wait on her. And from her online content, it seems like she loves some wine and loves to like, you know, get down and hang out. But she ended up having to cancel at the last second because Amy Schumer had a secret surprise wedding and she had to fly to that. So if Amy Schumer didn't get married, we would have got Jennifer Lawrence. So we have a little bit of a grudge maybe against Amy Schumer for getting married, but all the best to her. But earlier in my career, I remember like pre this company, Mila Kunis came in when I was at the St. Regis, but she did a shot at tequila. She wasn't drinking wine.
Okay.
Also, when I was there, who else came in? Stephen Colbert came in, but he was drinking like white wine. I think he was kind of a Burgundy fan. Tony Blair used to come in, but he was into like high-end French reds, like the Gigal Lalas and stuff.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And again, like I've got in a previous job, I got Jennifer Aniston before, but she was into just like crisp, light Italian whites. So I haven't gotten my like celebrity person to come in and like get down on bubbles, but I'm hoping I think it'll come at some point.
Definitely. I definitely believe so. If you were sitting in front of somebody who had the dreams and aspirations to open up a Fizz bar, what advice would you possibly give them to making sure that their business would be successful?
So much. I would say you want to work in businesses that you admire. You want to learn as much as what you don't want to do, as much as what you do want to do. And then with doing a business, like your crossword puzzle for a business is a P&L document. All businesses have them, and they're typically through QuickBooks. You desperately want to understand a P&L. you want to make sure that you can like set up a company where like you value how much your shares are and how you want to, you know, sell them or how you're going to like fund your money. And you want to think about, like you asked me earlier, what like differentiators are. A lot of wine bars don't pour half glasses. A lot of wine bars don't have different temperature zones for their wines like we do. Like we pour even some of our sparkling wines at different temperatures on purpose. We pour our still wines at Maxwell at 4 different temperatures, and we're just constantly rotating and changing and doing programming. So I would say you shouldn't open something to want to be a better version of something you like. It should be like something unique with differentiators, and your P&L is your backbone. If you have a good business but you don't understand a P&L, you're going to like really, you know, struggle.
For those who don't know what a P&L is, can you tell them what a P&L possibly is?
Yeah, it's like a profit and loss sheet. So if you have a business, what you basically do is, if anyone ever wants to reach out to me on like social and like ask me like, hey, what's step like 1 to 10 on opening a business? But essentially, you get a federal tax ID number. You start a bank account. You then run your company through the LLC, through QuickBooks, and then every single month, the QuickBooks will generate like a profit and loss statement or whatever financial system you use. This will basically show you how the sausage is made. Like, did you spend $200 on cable 1 month, but then the next month it was $500? Okay, well, why is it $500 this month? And you dig into it. Or you look and see like where your money's being saved, where it's being wasted, what your costs are for food, for beverage. So if there's anything you need to flag, like that's where you get it.
Nice. Last question, then we'll let you get up out of here. 5 years from now, what would you like to see Pop Fizz be?
I would like to see it be the type of place where when people are coming in town to DC, they are just like, oh, we got to stop off at Pop. Let's go cheers. Let's go celebrate there. That's such a fun spot. I think that like anything that comes in terms of like awards or prestige is secondary to people having that mindset when they think about my place.
Nice. Where can people find you at social media, and what's the best way to get a hold of you?
My social media is Bubbly for Everybody, all one word, sorry. And people can get a hold of me. My last name dot my first name at Gmail, so Kroll.Brent at Gmail. If anyone ever wants to ask, you know, study resources for me in a business or whatever, I'm a big pay it forward person. So if anyone reaches out to me, I typically am really good about trying to, you know, help them out in some way, because that's how it was for me.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you, Mr. Brent Kroll, for being a guest on Simply Champagne. And hopefully when you're in the DC area, you will come by and see him. He seems like he's a lot of fun and has a great environment for anybody who loves not only just champagne, but just sparkling or any carbonated beverage in general. So again, stop by Pop Fizz and come see Brent, and cheers to you, sir.
Hey man, you're too kind. Cheers.
Thank you.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.